Hi, and welcome to On and Off, our podcast covering the on-premise and off-premise beverage alcohol industry. I'm Melissa Dowling, editor of Cheers.
And I'm Kyle Swartz, editor of Beverage Dynamics magazine. In this episode, we're joined by Ryan Malkin, principal attorney at Malkin Law, which specializes in the beverage alcohol industry. Ryan, great to have you on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Ryan is going to chat with us today about how AI might affect our alcohol industry moving forward, which is where we're going to begin with our questions. Broadly, Ryan, how do you see AI working in and also influencing this industry?
I think there's a number of different ways for the on and off premise. It may have different implications in terms of, point of sale and things like that, in terms of, inventory, other ways to run a business. But in my world, I work with certainly some off and on premise, but we work with a lot of the brands. And on that side of it, there's a few different pieces of it that I see mostly on the marketing side, right? So creation of, really cool art or other campaigns, things like that, that might not have been as easy to do before AI. Nothing, I would say really material in terms of running the business, although there are in the wholesale side changes and things that I see using AI to streamline deliveries to retailers on and off premise to make it more efficient, to do things like, when are these products going to get to this retailer and how are they going to get there and which trucks, things like that using AI. So more efficient in the logistics side. And then I also see there are people who are trying to use it on the regulatory side. Like even myself, I have an app called Set the Bar, and we're looking at different ways to try to use AI to make it, make the app better, make it more easy to use for consumers. So far, we've had a little bit of a struggle. Like, we can use AI to search the available resources and the things that are in the system and in the app, but it's not really there to pull new information just yet that we've been able to find.
You brought up a lot of things I want to ask you questions about, including with the future of that app. But before we get there, you talked about marketing, and I wanted to ask you some questions about the use of AI in marketing. I mean, I don't know about you, but I can recognize AI pretty well at this point. Obviously, AI has come dramatically far in terms of the content that it produces. It's remarkable how far it's come in the 5 years, but I can still spot AI. I'm still aware when I'm watching an AI created commercial or AI created content, and it's still a little off putting for me. I don't know if I'm alone in that. Is any concern that consumers are perhaps have a similar off-putting reaction to AI created marketing?
I mean, I haven't personally heard that, but I think the ones that I've seen that have done well are cases where you know it's AI, but it just is, sort of cooler than maybe it would have been, right? Like you're having drinks with, I don't know, like a lion or a tiger or something, right? Like, it's not supposed to be, it's not reality, and you're not having, a real tiger or a lion there, but they're using like real photography mixed with AI, and it's just sort of like this really cool combination. Like I was having drinks a few weeks ago with Kyle Ford from Ford Media Lab, and they're kind of using AI in this really cool way where they're, professional photographers, but like adding AI to, enhance the professional photography side versus just like, hey, ChatGPT, can you, create X, Y, and Z. There are also some downsides and, issues from ownership that we can get to if you want, but that's anyway, to answer your question, I haven't had any clients or any consumers be like, I don't really like this, but I think it just has to be done thoughtfully.
No, that's a good point because one of the AI social media profiles I follow and pops up and makes me laugh. So I'm sure you're aware of it. It's the Yeti drinking alcohol. I mean, everyone knows that one now. That one's very popular. And it's just him being silly with alcohol. And obviously, I know a Yeti is not filming himself drinking beer and snowboarding, but it is very silly. And that one is done right. I mean, you're right because I know it's AI. That's where it kind of removes it. It's where it's an ad pretending to be real, but I know it's maybe by AI, made by AI. That's where find it a little off putting. Could just be me.
Well, are there regulatory and ethical hurdles for not just the marketing, but maybe some of the products developed using AI?
Uh, I don't know about regulatory that I can think of per se, but there are issues. So, for instance, if you are an agency and your task is to create a new label or to create some marketing campaign or whatever it is, then sometimes we'll talk to clients, especially if it's like you're really being paid a lot of money as an agency to create something, novel or new, I don't know, the new label or ad campaign for a product, we may put in like a no AI clause, because the concern could be that you're inadvertently using third-party AI. Like if it's not a closed loop system, then and you're using AI to create something, how do you know that that's not using somebody else's third-party IP inappropriately to create this new thing that we're paying you all this money for? And at the same time, we want to make sure that you're not taking what we've just asked you to create and then uploading it prior to it coming into the market for somebody else to use. So there are those sort of, if I'm paying an agency a lot of money, I don't know if it's an ethical concern per se, but we want to make sure that we're getting what we're paying for in terms of your creative skills or your creativity versus, a computer, right? And that we can own what we've paid for.
Yeah, proprietary data, marketing, images, everything. That really is one of the big concerns with AI right now. It's one of those things where I'm not really sure what the answer is, and I don't really know if anyone does now. Obviously, we're still kind of in the early stages of this, but protecting your content from other people or accidentally using other people's content does seem to me one of the major concerns right now, especially when it comes to marketing.
Right, exactly.
How are some places using AI in the on-premise?
I've only heard like through I mean, you guys probably know better than I do, but I've heard of various platforms that are using it for creation of like POS systems, right? To better track what's happening. And then I've also seen some cocktail strategies and recipe development and things like that, where they may ask AI to create different recipes versus using consultants in the past, which is maybe a concern for consultants. I don't know how good or bad those recipes are going to be based on, somebody creating a new recipe development for a bar, let's say. But those are some of the things that I've seen personally.
AI cocktails, Melissa, you just got your next cocktail article right there. Top 5 AI generated cocktails.
Well, the people I've talked to that use it will say, it's a great collaborator in terms of menu development or drinks, but just same thing as doing your research. You wouldn't want to rely on it solely.
Would you drink an AI cocktail?
I tasted in the name of research, but
We should do this for social media.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we'll come up with variations on like a margarita or whatever it is. The question is, can it create something, really novel, like, like I live in Miami or even New York, right? You go to the cocktail bars and there's, different milk punches or different, washes or this or that, where you're just like, wow, that's, amazing that you even, thought of doing that, right? Like, can AI do that yet? I don't know.
Yeah, well, we're recording this now towards the end of the year, and everything is about trend predictions for the next year. And I mean, because everything is based on, predicting trends and flavors based on what already happened, is it just going to recycle what's been popular versus, creating something really new?
Right.
I have here something you mentioned in the original pitch for this podcast is AI helping with ADA compliance with websites.
Well, I mean, I think that's something where you can use AI and ADA compliance to scan your website. So I don't know that that's necessarily like something for the on and off premise, although maybe it is, right? So I guess the point would be that if you have a website or a business that's open to the public, you should have some ADA compliant software, and they're just getting better with AI to scan for, various features or factors. So I would definitely check into that if I was, creating a website for any business, because it is required. And there are a lot of plaintiffs firms. So to avoid the cost of a settlement or potential litigation, it's relatively inexpensive, and those monitors are just getting better and better.
Yeah, I'm nodding my head vigorously as you said plaintiff firms, because that's why that question caught my eye while I was reading it. I do also run a magazine called Stateways Magazine that covers the control states, states where the governments control the alcohol industry. And this is a common issue for the control states is the plaintiff firms catching them with their websites where, of course, they're not just making a website for a handful of bars or an alcohol brand. They're making a website that represents the entire alcohol industry of an entire state. So the plaintiff firms have been coming at them with the ADA compliance issues. So this is perhaps a bit of a niche question, but any of my control state friends listening, please definitely look into AI for that.
Yeah.
Do you think companies need to disclose the use of AI in any way? You kind of got to this already, but I don't know if you wanted to expand on that a little bit. Like, how much do they have to say that they're using AI in any of this?
I'm not, I mean, I can't think of a case where it would be required other than maybe some marketing claims. So if for some reason you said this is completely made by humans, I mean, this, we're getting really specific, then perhaps it would be more along those lines, right? So I think you just need to be careful in your marketing claims
Mm.
more so than not using it for idea, right? If you're using it internally for, idea generation or to make yourself more efficient or to run your logistics or to run your your operations or books and records or things like that. I don't know that that would be required, but I do think that if you are making specific claims that you're not using it, then certainly, don't.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned earlier, and I wanted to get back to this, your Set the Bar app and kind of like your hope for how AI could be used there. Can you explain that a little bit more?
So the one area where AI has not really been very successful, and I've done a couple of presentations on this at industry events and have been using a lot of tools to try to crack it, is on trade practice and alcohol
Mm.
beverage regulations. I'm sure your audience know the regulations change from state to state on a variety of things. Inside signs, giving away specialties, and displays. Can you do tastings, whatever it is, and when you ask different um, AI engines for different, regulations, it's not always correct. So you don't want to rely on it, especially if certainly if you're a lawyer, but you don't necessarily want to rely on it regardless. And Set the Bar is an app that we created or that I created. It's outside of my law firm, but it has the rules in all 50 states, plus DC for those
Mm.
basic trade practice things. So I've been trying to find a way to have AI automatically update that as regulations change versus us going in and researching the regulations on a regular basis and then updating it manually. And we've been also looking at a closed loop system where the AI, you can type in the question and it will look at all of the regulations we already have and then pull and answer the question for you, which is much easier. So that can be done, but pulling the right information and getting the right information on a regulatory side has been a challenge so far.
Sure. In general, looking ahead, how do you see AI in the next year or so ahead in the industry, or even long term? Just what do you see as the future of AI in the industry?
I mean, I definitely think it's going to have a huge impact on logistics and the wholesale tier. I think that's probably going to be the biggest change would be my personal guess. Obviously, just my opinion, but
Sure.
making things much more efficient. Both, I would imagine on the operation side too. I also imagine that will help on the on and off premise with ordering and knowing exactly what you need and when you're going to need it based on predictions of, how much tequila this particular SKU has been selling and, pushing that to whoever your wholesaler is automatically. So a lot of that stuff will probably be able to be automated. Um, on the regulatory side, I don't know. I mean, I just don't know that and when it's going to be able to analyze like this trade practice thing and how risky is it if we proceed because it's in the gray area. It's not,
Mm.
necessarily permissible or impermissible. It's those things where it's like, not 0 or 1. It's like, what's the risk analysis? That, thankfully for us alcohol beverage attorneys, I don't know when it's going to get there. Because that's what, obviously we do a lot of. But, I think it's going to have its place for sure.
Absolutely. And speaking of gray area, and I hope you don't mind if I hit you with a question that was not on our script, only because you brought up gray area, and it's been on much on my mind and much on the minds of anyone who covers liquor stores or is involved in liquor stores these days. But that is the change in the federal legislation regarding the Farm Bill for THC, cannabis, hemp. The change with the regarding hemp in the Farm Bill. Obviously, they closed that loophole as part of the legislation that reopened our government recently, and everybody I know in the THC drinks business is freaking out about it, as they should. Your thoughts on that? I know obviously we're very early in the ball game, and they kind of have a year to hopefully figure this out before that legislation takes effect.
I think it's going to ultimately be state to state a
Mm.
little bit. And I have a lot of concerns because one of the big benefits of these, hemp-derived THC products is that you could previously sell them cross state lines, interstate commerce. You could sell them direct to consumers. You can make them in one state and then sell them, to your distributors in other states. And we'll see how the laws ultimately get, written in the different states. Obviously, you have the year to figure it out.
Yeah.
But if you have to start making them and it's an interstate, closed state system like it is with marijuana, then it's going to really be an impact on the industry because now all of a sudden you have to start making it in, whatever 10, 15 states that allow it. So I
Yeah.
think definitely be a big disruption to the way the industry's been going.
My other absolutely agreed. My other concern is will it continue to be in liquor stores or will you only find it in dispensaries?
Well, that is TBD. I'm not sure. If it is only in dispensaries, then it's sort of like, what's the point of
Yeah.
pulling it from hemp? I mean, they might as well just make it from marijuana like they were selling in dispensaries prior to this sort of, I get the loophole when they're hemp
Yeah.
derived. Because the whole point of the loophole is that they're not a dispensary. So I would imagine that it's going to be up to each state, and they're going to,
Mm.
California, they have to be in dispensaries, and other states may follow suit. Other states may keep it open and allow them to be sold at grocery stores and stuff like that. They'll be very interesting, and we have a lot of clients in the space, so we'll, obviously keep up on it.
Yeah, it's certainly a very unfortunate situation that has come to this industry. I mean, that obviously is the risk of operating in a gray area. Sometimes the gray area goes away, and unfortunately, there are a lot of very successful brands in that area, and it was a very successful category, especially for liquor stores at a time where liquor stores are kind of going through a correction. I'm sure you're aware, obviously, the entire industry going through a correction. So this was a real growth area. Hopefully something can be done. But like you, I'm starting to get a little bit more pessimistic the more and more I think about it and the more and more I dig into it. So we shall see. Back to AI. You know, you certainly know what you're talking about with AI, and we've dealt with it here as well. What about someone who's just getting into AI, perhaps a little late to the game? Where would you recommend they go to get their feet wet?
I mean, not specific to alcohol, but there's a lot of newsletters that I receive now, and obviously a lot of people start with ChatGPT or Perplexity, and I think for me it was just I get a ton of newsletters now that talk about AI, and I just pick and choose, and so I'm definitely no expert by any means, but I've also done some continuing educations on the legal side, and so it's just a matter of just educating yourself and trying to know a little bit so that you're able to field questions from clients, and then also be able to use it to help my practice and help clients.
Do you have any newsletters off the top of your head that you might recommend?
I can get back to you. I mean,
Yeah. Well, listeners, he'll get back to us and we'll put it in the description of this podcast.
because
Don't worry
I
about
don't
that.
recall the exact.
I
I
know.
get them
And
and I read them, and I don't know
of course.
exactly.
So before we go, there was one area of the beverage alcohol business that I keep hearing can really benefit from AI, and that's the wine business, which we all know has been struggling with oversupply, not enough drinkers, not drinking enough, a whole list of things. So people can use it, or maybe will be able to use it in for recommendations. What kind of wine do you like? What kind of styles? Whether it's in store or um, on premise, might stand to put some sommeliers out of work. But
Mm.
do you see that really benefiting an industry like wine?
I mean, I think it's all about access to information and having the most amount of information you can possibly have, and then also making it in a way that people can digest. So, I mean, that's really what it is doing, right? So if you have all of the information that Assam might have at your fingertips, and there's an app, I'm not sure if there is one, but specific to wine, or maybe you enter it into whatever you use and just be like, this is what I like. I have no doubt that it will pull up a bunch of good recommendations. And I'm sure you could sit at a table and be like, we're having fish with this and that, and I like this wine and that. What do you like? And here's the ones on the menu. I'm quite sure it would come up with some decent recommendations. Whether it's going to be as good as Assam, I'm not sure, but I'm sure it would do a decent job, which is a concern. At certain restaurants, no doubt, it's also the Sams obviously have a lot more responsibility in terms of like picking the wines that ultimately get on the list. So, it's not going to do everything, but yeah, I mean, I think it could interesting to the wine space and even spirits, right? You can, what cocktail should I drink for?
Yeah. Speaking of concern, do you have any concern about AI becoming sentient and taking over the world? And in other words, where are we on the Terminator map? Are we between like T1 and T2? Where do you think we are in terms of the movies?
I think it depends on how much you watch Elon Musk's press releases and how much you believe them, because you certainly, I think I said one of the later.
How much you use Grok?
So, I'm hoping we don't get there, but Rosie the robot from the Jetsons wouldn't be so bad, I guess.
Oh, that's so funny you say that. My 3-year-old daughter started watching Jetsons recently and has become obsessed with Rosie the robot. She runs around my house pretending to be Rosie sometimes.
Yeah, and in her lifetime, it's quite possible.
It's a lot better than say T1000 or whatever the liquefied one from T2 was.
Right.
Well, on that note, the not happy note, thank you again, Ryan, for joining us.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. And if anybody wants to reach out, my law firm, it's Malkin Law, and the website is Malkin, MALKIN.LAW. And yeah, reach out anytime. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Do reach out. We'll put that link in the description as well. Root for Rosie the robot. I think that's a strategy we all should have these days. Thanks to everyone who tuned in for this episode of On and Off. We appreciate all of our listeners. Please do join us next time when we'll talk about yet another fascinating topic that spans the retail and restaurant worlds. Until then, cheers.
Cheers.
If you enjoyed the On and Off podcast, please hit the subscribe button. Also, you can find more great content at cheersonline.com and beveragedynamics.com, including recipes, product reviews, and interviews with the movers and shakers of the beverage alcohol industry. You can also sign up for our free weekly e-newsletters for both publications on our websites. Cheers!